This conference will now be recorded.
All right, hello and welcome everybody. It is the regular meeting of the Communication Committee, now on Fridays. Today is March 14th, 2025. The time is 7 p.m., correct? And this is the call to order. So first item up is taking care of the minutes from 2/27/2025.
Okay, I believe everybody has received the minutes and the minutes as amended, and I need discussion on minutes. If not, I would accept the motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Yep, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. I know the communication manager update is next. There is an item I want to jump to, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair, really quick, if nobody minds. We'll notice there's one last person in the room today from the committee. Alyssa has decided to resign. She has picked up some extra responsibilities and just doesn't find time for the committee work. She's picked up like 2 jobs. So it's understandable. She's super busy. So we sort of knew hiring or bringing somebody on who was younger, probably leaving for college at some point, going on their path. We'd lose her eventually, but a little bit sooner than I think we'd like. But I wish her the best. I happy for the time that she spent with us. She did a lot of great work with the newsletter and other things. And yeah, I don't think it was time wasted. It was yeah.
Do we have an official date to that yet, or is that just?
It's been approved. Yeah, it's been, it was a couple days ago. She sent me the letter. I forwarded it to the Finnerty House and they just approved it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Things are a lot faster now with the town manager that you just let them know and they're like, okay.
All right.
And you can see her at Masa Mexicano.
Oh, she's working
Yeah.
there? Oh, fabulous.
She was in the paper this week.
Yes, that's right.
A picture of her was in the paper working there
Oh,
this
so
week.
she really does have quite a number of jobs.
Yes, she did.
Yes. Like that in the library, something else. Yeah.
I guess she and Charlotte will have a conversation.
Right. She's doing like 5 jobs too. But okay. So I don't think there's any other topics not reasonably anticipated. So we're going to jump.
Do you want to talk about the work article?
Oh,
Where are we at?
we're still at 15A. The topic's not reasonably anticipated. So that is a discussion that came up today that we sort of didn't expect to. It's a conversation that's come up a few times. So we have been digging into meeting minutes, and it's been something that we've pointed out multiple times that not every committee has their meeting minutes up online in the agenda and minutes section. There's a lot of people, a lot of townsfolk that are looking into the different meetings that we've been having, specifically around finance. We could say that they don't have any meeting minutes up since, 2023 or something like that.
At least, yeah.
And it's definitely, there's a level of transparency that people are looking for these days. And I think definitely want from the different committees and from the town itself. We looked into the rules around that. And originally we had thought, when I say we, I mean Ed, myself, and Kate, we had thought that it was a responsibility of the town clerk to ensure that meeting minutes get up within 30 days of any meeting.
On the internet.
Right, put them up online, posted for public use. That apparently is not true. There is no law saying that committees have to provide meeting minutes to the town clerk. So they don't need to, right? There's
you can have a meeting without ever having minutes.
No, you have to have
No.
minutes, and if someone requests them through the Freedom of Information Act, you have 10 days to produce them.
So you don't have to give them to the town clerk, but you as the committee have to have them.
correct. The town clerk doesn't have to maintain them. If you pass them on to her, she will and keep the records for you. But technically, every committee and every committee's clerk is responsible for archiving and holding on to those minutes.
Okay.
So it actually falls back on the different committees that aren't submitting their minutes to have them available. And there's an interesting case that there is a rule somewhere. We could state it. It's like 950 CMR 32.05 section 1F that states that the agency, this case being the committee, does in fact need to post minutes somewhere on a website available for public use. So what we've sort of in a roundabout way have found that it's actually the committees and the clerks in the committees who are responsible for not getting stuff up, and they are essentially not, it does say that they have to have it available on a website for public use. So
public website.
So if they don't have one, if it's not available, then they're actually in violation. Yeah, right. So and it's sort of like it's kind of like this weird circle of responsibility and things. These two laws kind of play against each other. I had the idea, and I threw it out to these two and I realized that the town meeting is coming up very quick, the annual town meeting, and that the warrants are due real soon. But does it make sense for us to propose a warrant that states that meeting minutes do need to be produced to the town clerk?
It would be an update to the bylaws for the town.
It would be an update to the bylaws for the town, yes. So our town, specifically Belchertown, would say committees need to provide meeting minutes.
I would assume other towns have something similar.
No idea.
Well, that's the way I'm saying it. So that some research might need to be done to see if there is such a thing already on the books.
There are a handful of towns, I can't name them, and just take this as for what it is, in public record, that during my research, I think like East Hampton was one where like it's just understood that you pass in your minutes and everybody does it.
Right.
There's a handful of others where just every committee is responsible for passing in minutes. And it's not necessarily, I don't even think it's enforced by bylaws. It's just like, that's just the way it's done.
That's their history.
Right. We don't have that history.
Really?
Yeah.
Because every committee I've been on in this town has done it and felt that it was part of their job to do it.
No, there are a number of committees that don't. If you look at the
I'm
website,
hearing that. I'm hearing
Yeah.
yeah, there's, and to me, it only makes sense just from a transparency. It's the right thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
It really is the right thing to do. And if you don't do it, it makes it look like you're hiding something, you know, so.
Well, if they're doing minutes anyways, how hard is it to email it to somebody? I assume that's how you put it in, right?
Well, my understanding from Terry is that there are some groups that take their minutes by hand and then just that's their copy. That's what they have. So they don't go back, they don't go and type them up like Lou does. Like Lou, I know you take yours by hand, but then you type them up later on.
So what's the violation penalty?
Well,
That's a good question.
no, I mean,
I mean, you know, it's a $10,000 fine if you don't do, I forget what it is here, but you get $10,000 fine for, if you don't somehow follow the.
Was it the agenda rules?
Not freedom of information, but the open meeting laws, you have to take.
Yes, yeah.
Responsible for that. So that, I would think there might be a hefty fine or bite.
Right.
but I think it should, we shouldn't look at it as a punitive thing as much as it's the right thing to do. It's part of transparent government.
Yeah.
That,
I don't think anybody's questioning that. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
teeth help motivate people to do things.
Right. Well, one idea that I had kicking around in the back of my mind was that the town clerk doesn't accept agendas until minutes are provided. Right.
The previous meeting or from everything.
Well, within
Yeah,
the
like you
30
can hand them
30 days, I
together
think.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, if it's every 30 days, so we meet twice within a 30-day period. So the last ones aren't necessarily due right away, but
Right, I'm gonna say that was always our assumption, wasn't it, that we had 30 days.
we had 30 days. That was, yeah.
When I went upstairs, that's kind of what I heard also.
Right, which isn't really isn't a thing either. But that's my easy punitive, which is not necessarily like the best thing for the town, but it certainly is a motivator that your committee would not be able to meet. Like the town clerk would reject your agenda if you are late.
Mm-hmm.
without a
we'd have
good
to
reason, without a good reason, like if you didn't get a chance to approve it, or the minutes weren't ready for you to approve at a
Because the
meeting.
clerk had a heart attack or something like that.
Well, and that's a good point. You technically have to meet to approve minutes, so I guess you can't stop a meeting from happening.
But meetings can be canceled without, and that would delay the
Right.
process.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So I guess that isn't the right one.
So maybe it's like within, 14 days after the meeting or something like that. So Whately does have it on their bylaws that they require minutes to be turned in to their clerk.
And do they have
Just one
stipulations
example.
like time?
Yeah, that's just one of the examples. They don't stipulate the time and stuff on there. So I would say maybe, did we ever find out, Ed, when we have to have the warrants turned into Terry by?
Friday.
This week?
Well,
Next week?
a week from today. A week from today.
It's finalized by the Board of Selectmen on March 31st.
Yeah.
So what happens is it goes to the board and they send it to town council, and then after town council does their thing, goes to the board to be approved.
There's actually a step ahead of that, depending on whether or not we need signatures, which I believe as a committee, we can provide a warrant without needing signatures. If you are a citizen's petition, resident's petition, you need 10 signatures, and those signatures need to be approved by the town clerk first, and then it goes to the select board. So there is a little time there, but I believe as a committee, we are allowed to post a warrant.
I
Without
quizzed Melissa this morning, and she thought she would not have a finalized copy until May 1st.
Right, because it has to go through council
Yeah.
and a whole process, yeah.
And the town meeting is May 12th, so it kind of doesn't give much time. No,
No, and you're right, the warrants don't have to be provided to public until a week before the town meeting.
Yeah. Which
But
kind of,
getting them to the board has to happen by next
steps on
week.
this whole thing of the information we were trying to get out.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if we do it as a citizen's petition, well, we have 7 signatures in the room already, right here, we need 10 to do it. Now, the downside of a citizen's petition is we write it, it does not get reviewed by council.
Yeah.
If we're able to do it as Chris researched as a committee, then it does get reviewed by town council. Or even possibly we could ask Steve to do it,
Yeah.
to submit it that way. So, that's another possibility too. The other thing too, Chris, Kate and I were texting on all this today. I said, well, another plan could be Steve and or the select board make it a policy. That this is a policy, that this is how it shall be done, given the short time frame for town, And then if that doesn't work, then we put it in as a warrant next year.
Well, you still
What's
have
it
to
say,
make it a warrant this
It
year.
basically says that it's
We
a
do.
written
Yeah.
warrant saying that,
I mean, I'd like to have a little more time to think it through and all the what ifs.
Okay.
that they need to
Yeah.
prepare, that
Would
the
be
final
my-
approval of minutes should be done 7
Because-
days after the approval by the respective.
I'd hate for it to go down in flames at the
Gotcha.
town meeting because we
Friday would still be good.
didn't think of something,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Sure. You can amend on the floor.
No one's amending it.
So,
Is it Chris, just a question about that? Can recordings be submitted in lieu of minutes?
No,
it specifically says minutes.
The
Written minutes,
new
yeah.
policy would accept the go-to meeting as the record until the official town meeting, until the official minutes are turned in.
What policy?
Huh?
What policy?
The one that's coming down the road.
Though the proposed
The proposed
hybrid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but it also stated that those electronic minutes have to be destroyed as soon as the official minutes are turned in.
Oh,
Really? Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I was reading what Ed sent us, and that's what I got out of it.
well,
So that kind of brings up what happens to BCTV recordings, are they,
Okay, are those district?
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
not for this moment.
I mean, would this be worthy of a conversation on Tuesday? I figure Steve and everybody's gonna be really busy Monday, getting ready for the select
sure.
board meeting, So maybe on Tuesday, a conversation with Steve and Terry
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, I think it's definitely something So it's tough because like anything like this, I would want to, we're on a tight deadline. And anything like this, I would want to get full approval and vote of the full committee, right? I wouldn't want to move forward with this without getting everybody's input on it. But we only have till Friday and we haven't really talked to anybody, right?
So are you interested in exploring? Are you interested in writing?
I think both, honestly. I mean, like we all agree. Well, the three of us agree that this is a good thing, right? And that it's not being enforced right now. The minutes aren't available. You know, people are shocked that the finance committee doesn't have one. And I apologize to the finance committee for continually throwing them under the bus, but let's be real, like that's a big issue right now, and there's no minutes up. So it's kind of concerning for a lot of people.
Hang on, I missed a second there in this conversation about the go-to. Can you just let me know the last like two things you said?
The last two things I said about throwing the finance committee under the bus.
Yes.
Well,
Well, I guess you don't know. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I do know. I know this. The whole thing recordings. I've been deep in that this week. The thing that Lou said a little earlier about them having to be destroyed is very interesting.
Right, and is that the committee's records or is that the town's records?
Well, that's the
I
question.
don't think it would be BCTV's records.
You're right.
Like, I mean, I think that our version of the video would not be subject to that.
I would hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of absurd if it is.
Agreed.
It also hasn't been approved, right?
Mm-mm.
So there's still time to sort of figure out what all of it means and for all of it to be implemented. And I'm sure that when it happens, it doesn't just immediately happen. So well, I don't know for sure.
I'm going to digress it real fast. Are they ex officio now?
No.
We haven't changed the charter yet.
Okay, so we're still getting.
And the charter won't be approved. I'll talk about this. Well, I might as well just say it. They pushed us back from the meeting on the 17th because obviously there's more important things going on in town.
That's right.
So we're going to meet at the next select board meeting. So no, they're not ex officios yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it feels like, back to your question of are we doing research or are we writing on it? I don't think there's, like, we kind of have to do both if we're going to hit a Friday deadline for this.
Well, there seemed to be
But
a little question as to whether or not we want to go forward without having more time to think about the what ifs and the therefores.
right. And does it mean that to get it in for Friday during the day, do we have a quick special meeting next week where we have the warrant written up and passed around to everybody and we just meet for like 15 minutes to say we all approve and then we pass it in?
Seems how we can't do it through email, yeah.
Yeah.
Would council have to look at that?
They would look at
I
it.
think we would want them to.
Yes.
Well, everything gets looked at before it even goes to the board. Or the board looks at it and then council? Is that the?
No, it gets submitted to the board and then I guess it sounds like it automatically goes to council. I mean, technically it goes to the board. The board receives it. And
Yes.
then it gets sent to council immediately, it sounds like. From what
And
Terry
gets
told me
rewritten.
today. Yeah, any changes need to be made, then it comes back to the board for them to
approve it, to go on the warrant.
right.
Then it goes.
So having worked with
then it
our
goes-
council before, they almost always respond with changes. Our council anyway.
Yeah.
Does that. And then wouldn't we want to go back out to the committees and say, look, this is something that we're considering putting in place. It's in fact state law. What would it take for you to do this? I mean, don't we want to have some kind of conversation for
Right.
those who are violating?
And that's, yeah, the other part is
I
do we
think
want to get,
That's fair if we're going to be open and above board.
Yeah, how long do they have to when do they have to, how far back do they have to go to start posting? Or is it just going forward? Like, that would be something we'd have to figure out.
right.
I would
So-
think forward.
Yeah, I think it is, I would love to do something like this because I think it is very important to get those meeting minutes up. I think it's absolutely necessary for them to do it, but there's no laws forcing them, and there's nothing saying that they have to do it technically. There is something there that says that committee clerks are responsible, but they're not being held responsible currently. But we don't have a lot of time. And I think because of that, because there's still research to do, I don't think we're going to make it for the annual town meeting.
No.
And it would probably sit for another year unless we could convince committees to start submitting otherwise.
I think Ed's policy would be a good stopgap if that's something the select board can do automatically.
Is to just put a policy up saying
Yeah.
this is what we want everybody to start doing.
Yeah, and then if you need to make it more, I don't know, binding.
Right. And if by the end of the year nothing has happened, then we go for a warrant article.
Something like that.
And I think in a way, we might be able to shame some of the committees into posting, in that, gee, most of them are doing it, you're not, you should, that sort of thing. And again, with everything going on, I mean, yeah, the fact that finance doesn't post their minutes looks probably to a lot of people suspicious. It's like, what are you hiding, sort of thing, It's not a good look for them.
Right.
$1
And I'm sure they're not, they're not hiding anything, but
No, I know.
that's the impression that it gives.
So that's one of the things we've been kind of kicking around the last couple
Yep.
hours.
Well,
Big meeting, like big group wise, like the Board of Assessors hasn't posted minutes since September of 24.
I mean, I started going through, there's a number of committees that,
Yeah,
and some of them might just be doing it just generally not aware that they have to do it. And,
So, ancillary question, how do the videos get associated with these? And who's posting them or making a connection? Agenda, minutes, video?
that's something that can be done in the back end of Civic Plus, and we're slowly getting there.
Okay.
We're taking baby steps to roll out those changes, and Kevin's been really helpful in working with the clerk's office and stuff like that. So we're gonna get there.
is it still worth a conversation with Steve and/or Terry on Tuesday, just to get their feeling on it?
Steve's hoping to take Thursday and Friday off. And we all know he's gonna be busy Monday, and which means he's probably gonna be super busy Tuesday based on what happens Monday at the meeting. So maybe the plan is to come back, in April or something and make a formal request to the select board to consider this and see what happens. And if that doesn't work, then if we find out a special town meeting's happening, we can do it sooner. Otherwise, we'd have to wait for the next annual one.
Right.
And I'm not trying to make excuses for Steve or say that he's got a lot of stuff or anything
I mean,
going on. I just want to set reasonable expectations, especially if we're trying to do something quickly.
And it's not like something like this is do or die. It's they have bigger do or die issues right now on their plate.
Right. But I think it's part of it's part of this, and it's something that is, potentially led to this, that like without meeting minutes up, without records available, there's a lot of questions out there about town finances.
The meetings are still on BCTV's website.
It's true. They are there.
They're there, you can watch them.
Yeah.
They're not past 2020, summer 2023.
No, we're not talking the old one, we're talking about the current meetings.
Yeah, at least the last
Okay,
year.
gotcha.
Yeah. So there's a record. There's
Yeah,
the videos.
Yeah.
But
not the same, but
right.
how angry are you?
Well, if you're angry enough, you're going to put enough Freedom of Information Act and ask for the meeting minutes. So.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's something that we're probably going to bring up later on and work towards. And I like the idea of making it select board policy down to the committees that this is what we're now asking everybody to do. And if it doesn't work, then we have next year's annual meeting.
That's Ed's idea. Give him credit.
It's a committee's idea.
Okay. So now that we've wasted a bunch of time on that, let's go with the communication manager update.
Busy. Busy. It has been a busy couple of weeks since we last met. Next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, excuse me. Lisa Stahl and I are going to the Mass Governor's Council meeting for travel and tourism. They're having a big marketing proponent to that. It's being held in Springfield at the Civic Center. And there's supposed to be a lot of conversation in there about how to bring, tourism dollars into your area and how that affects with when people are traveling and everything else too. So really excited about that coming up next week.
Who's the third member?
It's just two of us.
Oh, I thought I heard.
Lisa Stahl is the communication or cultural district.
Thank you.
It's not the same title as Maud, but it's slightly different. So other things that happened this week, aside from posting on social media, which we can cover when we get there, we put up a poll on the front page of the website asking people if they wanted to change the name of the town to Cold Spring. That was a request of the select board. So that's on there. Updated some of the aesthetics on the website, changed some pictures around and stuff. Added some line item budget stuff to the website, talking about all the stuff that's coming up. I sent email text bodies to Steve, Joanne, and Terry earlier this week as a result of a meeting that Steve, Joanne, and I had the week before about people on committees and town employees self-disclosing when they are speaking about hot topic button things in town, especially currently the Proposition 2.5. We did have some issues back when JVISH was a thing. I put together language for sending emails to tell people to do the right thing and don't get into an ethics code violation. To that end, I did have to send an email to Select Board member Nicole Miner telling her that the poll that she put on her personal Facebook page was an ethics violation and that at the very least she needed to disclose if she was doing it as herself, as a personal thing, as a Select Board thing, was asked to do it by the group. She did do that, but it was definitely not enough for what was being done. Let's see. We had a tabletop training session earlier this week that Esther and I both went to in regards to emergency preparedness. So we were able to really talk about communications and getting communications out before emergencies hit. We looked into what we have to do while emergencies are hitting, and this really piggybacks well off of the stuff that Ed and I have been working on with the chiefs for the town's emergency communication or the emergency plan period. I was supposed to go drone flying with Adam from the. You want to raise your hand?
Sorry, I want to just
Jump in anytime.
about the emergency meeting.
Yeah.
I saw the photos. Ton of people there.
Yeah.
3 towns.
3 towns.
Oh, it was 3 towns.
Yep.
Okay, all right. That's why so many people. How did you feel at the end of it? Did we seem like we had communications covered? Did it seem like we were good to go?
I think communications wise, I felt really confident in what Esther and I can do. I learned a lot from the people at MEMA, so the Massachusetts Emergency Management agency. Thank you. They have a lot of different resources on their website that we can just pull onto our website to make it easier for people to find out like tips and tricks and things to do should there be these types of emergencies, and how to reach out for Red Cross or MEMA or FEMA or whatever you need to know. So that part of it was huge. But we did uncover some other issues in regards to so say there's an emergency and the town loses power like we did back in 2011, but instead of it warming up like it did that, it freezes and now everything's frozen and people have no heat and the power lines are down. We don't know when power's coming back. So now it was well, now what do we do? How do we get out to people? Because you're not, the cell towers may not be working like they weren't then. So we had conversations about do we get the cruisers out and have them drive around, with the big speaker saying, warming centers are here and here. We talked about reactivating the siren on the top of the fire station and obviously doing something leading up to that so people know that if you hear the siren during, an emergency, this is what it means. And people learn those things over time, how those work. So we definitely learned a lot in regards to that.
Nice.
Thanks. So like I was saying, I was going to do some drone flying time with Adam from the fire station this morning because they're taking down parts of the power plant at the Safe School.
It's a great drone. He has a lovely drone.
Yes, but unfortunately we had to reschedule and he's going to have to fly and do all those pictures and videos without me, so I'm kind of sad because I'm going to be at my meeting. But we're not going to stop them from taking down the power sec to wait for us to take drone videos.
Right,
so.
right.
So Adam's going to do those for us too. Yeah, and just, wrote a couple articles, wrote a couple Q&As, made a whole bunch of images, worked on, calendar stuff. And
Yeah, I gotta say, those things you put together on the budget are excellent. Excellent,
thank you.
really, yeah.
Thank you. We're right now in the process of prepping should the select board say we're going to go ahead with the Prop 2.5 to get all that text and everything written and how we want to present it and the images and graphs. So we've worked through those early steps already. So that way, if it is approved, we're ready to get off the ground running with getting out appropriate documentation for the citizens to understand what that is. And we're going to be basing it on the documentation that Hudson, Massachusetts put out. Because they're one of the many towns in Massachusetts going through the same thing right now. Kind of as an aside, we've been talking about the ADA compliance for the PDFs and everything else on the website and how far back we have to go. So one of the things that I wanted to ensure was to make sure that we weren't missing a date going forward. But because our community is less than 50,000 people, we have more time than communities that have more than that. So our date's actually somewhere out near 2028. But we don't know how far back we have to go. So that's the next step that I have to figure out. But it's not we might get fined, within the next year or something. And,
Gotcha.
Crisis mode to get old documentation brought back up to.
So 2028 is when we can start being
fined.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. So obviously we want to have everything well in place before then. So that way we have time to work on updating anything of the old. So there's that. And then speaking about things and getting fined, I also, and this, I swear this is my last thing, but I also put together, we have to get the cannabis stuff on the website, right?
Yep.
We talked about this. So I put together a bunch of, I went through, looked at a whole bunch of towns, different, how they're putting out their cannabis stuff on their website. And I put together a list of pros and cons out of my least favorite 6 sites, if you will. And then I sent that over to Doug in planning and Steve so they could both review it. And we're going to have a meeting the week after next to go through and flush out as to what the town wants to show.
Cool.
And then away we go.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions for Kate? No? Esther, are you going to be able to give a report? You parked outside?
Yep. I'm pulled over. We're good to go. So I've had an incredibly productive last week. A lot of things have happened, like Kate said. We had the emergency preparedness training, was very cool. I didn't realize how much that I had to learn, and I feel like we're going to be well prepared. Can you hear me?
I believe so. You can hear over there? Okay, we're good. I just wanted to double check.
Okay. There was some kind of static situation going on. A point that came out to me is that in an emergency, the scenario that they gave us was all the power is out for days, we have nothing in town. How do we get messages across? And these days, realistically, people find a way to make their phone have battery, whether it's the car, up the street, whatever. So the thing that stands out the most to me is I would like to know better what protocol we need to put up to have information available if we can't get back on, like ahead of the time before the snowstorm. So like if they see, if they're looking for information, it'll say the shelter will be here if there is one. Yeah, so that's interesting. There's also we could make some videos, really do some work to prepare people so they know what to do when that happens.
Is BCTV on a generator?
Yes.
It is? Okay.
We have a battery backup, yeah. Interestingly though, like the fuel situation in town is somewhat limited, but that's not my purview. Oh, that sound is weird. Okay. So in addition this week, we've been doing a lot of work with our technology, working in preparation for this meeting on Monday. As you know, last time we weren't able to utilize the audio in the auditorium to be able to hear people in the room. We had it on the go too. That's it's going pretty well now, but that's a pretty crucial piece too, because we had significant feedback. So Brian Maroney has had some thoughts to share for a while, and I think has been through before, but we made a meeting to go through and get his thoughts. We did a lot of work with what we have, which I'm really excited about. We haven't spent a dime. We fixed that problem by we had an auto mixer in the situation. Now we're more utilizing a digital mixer that we had. That's going to open up a lot of opportunity to continue to improve feedback, sound. I'm psyched. So yeah, so I need to put out some communication about that so people are on board.
Esther, for Monday's meeting, is the audio in the auditorium are you going to be using the audio in the auditorium for Monday?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so from Monday, Esther, is it a true tri-board meeting again, or is it just it's a straight select board meeting with the school committee and finance committee simply attending?
Oh, I was told everyone should be mic'd. That's all I know.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize the other committees were attending until I saw what Terry put up.
They posted.
Yeah. And I sent a message to Steve because I've got to get some messaging out before that, and I wasn't sure if maybe you knew in case I didn't hear back from him this weekend.
Yeah, I just know that we need to be prepared for everybody to be mic'd. So that makes me think it is actually a tri-board meeting, but.
Well, like the school committee, they say they're attending the meeting. It's whether that makes it a tri-board, I don't know. But yeah, they posted their agenda just saying they're attending the meeting.
Are they on their agenda? Does it say that they're opening and everything else? I haven't opened it yet.
It said, Pledge of Allegiance, call to order. New business, attend select board meeting, correspondence. So it sounds like a meeting.
Yeah, it does.
I'm
going to send Steve a text.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way.
Actually very curious how that works to have a meeting in attendance of another meeting.
You just have to stand up and call your group into, like you do. This meeting will now come to order, and you just sit down and pay attention to what's going on. But you have everybody in the room, you have to make an official meeting.
Well, see, but they've got a few things on here. Call to order, emergency issues only, new business, attend select board meeting, and then correspondence, and then vote to adjourn. Whereas finance committee just says call meeting to order, attend select board meeting, adjourn. So that's all there's.
Yeah, I have no idea what correspondence means.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, but not to take up any more of Esther's time. So it sounds like we're all set for Monday.
We should be. We will fall back on using the owls again for video if we need to, but we are very close to having the network worked out so we can also use our cameras in that room, which will be much better suited for this large situation.
So did I hear that?
The other thing.
BCTV video and audio possibly. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The
But the
other
cameras.
exciting thing that happened this week was surprisingly the workshop on the one-stop grant. It wasn't quite a workshop. It was also just like comparing so we don't compete for grants with department heads. I ended up meeting a lot of people who I wanted to meet on the cultural council, and it kind of towards the end went into more of a brainstorming session and sharing ideas of what people are doing, ways to collaborate, especially in terms of a community center coming up, and working with the cultural council to have our equipment used for their live music on Fridays. And it's very far out, but I'm still very excited about a project to have satellite spaces where people in town already are and are comfortable using equipment. Kind of like Northampton Open Media has a number of spots for different things. So I got to talk to people about that, see where there might be space. There's other things too, but I'll leave it there.
Excellent. Just to loot in quick here, but they were looking to have satellite spaces where equipment would be available and easy to use. That it's just set up there and ready to go if necessary.
You're wondering if we're gonna die in a minute too, aren't you?
Yes.
We got a lot of shaking on the side of the building.
Well, we don't know what type of equipment specifically.
I don't think so. Esther, do you know what type of equipment specifically?
I'm excited about the idea of a podcasting studio, but also there might be more interest in an editing bay space. There's also photography workshops happening, and I wonder if there will be more buy-in to want to get more advanced equipment to be able to loan. So we'll see.
All right, Jade, I'll let Lou.
Okay, so I thought this was going to, and maybe I'm totally wrong on this, was going out to wherever the fair was happening, and there would be equipment there for people to use, but this sounds more like Esther's setting up her editing bays and possibly podcasting.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So not quite what I understood, but okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
There's a lot of shaking for the recording. There's a lot of noises and shaking on this side of the room that has us a little worried. Is it just the boiler, I think, downstairs? Probably.
Oh, yeah, downstairs, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Still very unnerving.
great.
Right.
It's been checked recently.
Yeah.
It's right in this area.
It's right under me.
Yeah, it's right here. Okay, let's on to the annual town meeting, which are topics not anticipated could have fallen under this, but otherwise it'll work here. What's coming up?
I haven't heard anything more on our warrant proposal. Have you, Kate? Has anything?
No, I have my email open, and I don't have anything in there since yours earlier today.
So, have you heard any discussion on that around the office at all?
Would you mind reminding everybody?
Okay, sorry, yeah. This was a thing where we proposed to Steve's office that the warrant articles be expanded to include more information in there, how the committees voted, what the financial impact would be, what a yes/no vote would mean, that sort of thing. Just to provide in advance the information that is often provided at town meeting verbally. So people get a chance to look at it in advance. I've seen a few emails bouncing back and forth with Steve. It sounds positive,
It does.
but he hasn't said yes. I haven't seen anything that says we are doing Yeah.
I think it may come down to a concern with timing and if we're gonna have enough time to do it. I think it's something he wants to do, but at the same time, and obviously I can't speak for him, but it, you know, if it turns out that everything comes back from legal with like,
Right.
you know, no time left, then
Okay.
And if it comes out on the 5th or the 6th, does it still have the same value if it comes out on the 1st?
Well, I mean,
No, I'm just saying, you know, the time is shrinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't happen this year, which would be good, but not, you know, not terrible if it doesn't. I mean, it's certainly on everybody's radar now as a thing that would be good to do.
Excellent.
So the real no movement is out there, no movement.
Right.
Okay,
Essentially.
thank you.
All right. I've gotten a sneak peek of this over the last couple of days. So I'm excited to hear about the town newsletter stuff.
Yes, I am happy to share. And actually, I'm hooked up to the go-to to share slides. So who can let me do that?
You are a presenter.
I want to change everyone thing on top.
I should be able to see it. I'll take that.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I just a few different types of updates here and also a design question for everyone at the end. I will be efficient, but I will not speed through it, but shouldn't take too long. So updates. One big one is that Alyssa's stepping back, as we just heard earlier. She's definitely going to get a huge shout out when this launches because she was a reason that it is happening. But that said, I guess I'm the main person working on this. Kate and Chris are both very helpful. But if anybody else wants to join me, I know Chris said you can if nobody else wants to. Just having somebody else to like go back and forth with ideas about and help me stay accountable is awesome. Also, like anybody with design stuff is useful because I'm not that great for that. But I think you'll see by the end of this presentation more of where it stands. So I don't think, you know, I think a lot of the work is done, although there's going to be like, continuing work with it. So anyway, if anyone is interested in coming aboard this project now that we're one man down, that would be great. So the select board presentation, originally we were going to present on Monday's meeting, the 17th, but because it's a busy agenda, we are now slotted for the April 7th meeting. And the plan, I was talking with Chris about this yesterday, but the plan is to just kind of be ready to go to launch the newsletter as soon as we run it by the select board. And so some of the key things that will be in place are a way for people to find it on the website to be able to sign up. And then once they sign up, they'll receive a kind of welcome letter, a welcome issue. And then at some point later, probably May 1st or June 1st, really just depending on how well we coordinate people who submit to the newsletter, we can start sending the first issue then. So that's my thinking on timeline now. Email account update. So we have this newsletter at belchertown.org email account to receive and send messages. Kevin set it up so it's a group so that Kate and I, originally Alyssa, but Alyssa doesn't need access to it now, but whoever's involved with the project can see all of the messages coming into the account. The one obstacle there is that I would not be able to send from this email address because I don't have a belchertown.org email address. I guess you technically could, Kate, and so could Kevin. I was going to get back to Kevin about this, but I think this is fine. I know Kevin was looking into if there's like another way to do this. But I think it's fine.
Yeah, because you can honestly just give me whatever you want sent and I can just send it. It's not
exactly.
a big deal.
So I think, because I was thinking like for, part of the work, one of the big pieces of work is going to be just reaching out to people to make sure they know about the newsletter, like other committees, and letting them know how to submit and stuff. And so some of that, I was considering doing some of it, doing individual outreach, and I can do that from my personal email. But if there's any like batch messages, we could send it through the the newsletter at belchertown.org email. So I'll email Kevin to let him know.
He did not worry.
Doesn't need to try to find another solution. And then yesterday I worked with Chris on making sure we know how to place this on the website because we were concerned about blocking information or, just making sure it looks right. And I think we came up with a good solution that Chris is going to help me with. But basically we're thinking, the platform that we use, Constant Contact, will create these little, pieces of code for you to put on your website to create a big banner. But if you use the ones from Constant Contact, you'll find it covering over all the emergency information on our website. So Chris's suggestion is we'll create our own little banner that we can put exactly where we want it so it's not blocking information. And it will link to this page, which has some draft information on it. This is not visible. Like you can see it, but you can't navigate to it on the website.
It hasn't updated on the screen yet.
Okay. Oh, probably because it's a different link.
I think you're sharing the app and not the screen.
Oh yeah, you're on presentation mode in your
okay.
in your slides.
Great. So let me do that.
Or I think in GoTo, I think you're showing just the app, and you need to switch it to full screen. So down next to share is an arrow like this, and there should be an option for you that says share something else.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I see. It's the window.
Yeah, you're sharing the app, and so you can have windows on top of it and show other stuff, but it'll only show us the app.
Okay.
I've got it on my screen if you want me to share.
I just got it now, I think.
Yep, there it is.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the page, the newsletter page within the website. So we would link to this from the home page, and there would be.
As you can see, the banner option that they provide covers up all of the navigation. There should be an emergency alert that's up there. We absolutely do not want to cover up emergency alerts. You can click on that and
So you can't get rid of it unless you click on it? So like if you scroll down on the page, does it stay there?
It scrolls with you, yes.
Oh, of course it scrolls with you.
Yes, so it's not great. So we are absolutely not doing the banner option provided by Constant Contacts.
Right, so I'm gonna close it out.
Yeah.
Because this is to show you what we won't be using. We will not be using this banner option. And so the page will look something more like this, where you see the normal stuff you're supposed to see, and then within the main content section, there will be more information about the newsletter, and there will be a little form to sign up here. And eventually, there will be past issues archived as PDFs, so if you want to look at past issues.
So since we're setting up our own option to do this, I can't read the fine text, but make sure you have a click box that they are checking to acknowledge that they are signing up. So in the background, in Constant Contact in the background, it has the brains built into it that knows that it's an official sign up.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to, like when we import lists into Constant Contact, we have to check a box saying, yes, we have their permission to do this. So best practice is to have them click a box saying, I understand, I guess I'm giving you all my information,
I've
but
read the
still,
rules,
yes,
yeah.
I've read the rules, take my info.
Gotcha. Which I think is just adding a custom checkbox.
Yes,
Yeah.
then presumably we can do that.
Well, I mean, the fine print on the page says that. I mean, by submitting this form, you are consenting to receive marketing emails from town of Belchertown, blah, blah. Is that the sort of thing you're looking for?
Yeah.
It says that in the fine print, which nobody ever reads. Yeah.
So I'm curious if there's any chance you have greater functionality than me, but these embed forms from my end are very limited with what you can do. So I know I can add a text field. I'm not sure I can add a checkbox field, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, I think you might be able to. I feel like I did on one form, but I could be misremembering too.
Okay.
But yeah, if we can have a checkbox, that would be ideal, and if we can't, we can't.
Okay.
I'm surprised at how limited the sign up field actually gives you, like how much of the sign up form
Yeah.
lets you do.
So there's also, the platform allows you to create a landing page that would be external. So I'll open it now, external to our website. I just have a link here, but we wouldn't need to use this if we can get everybody to sign up just from this embedded form.
You always lose people when they have to leave a site.
And that's,
Exactly.
and that's confusing, yeah, you know. I would think from clicking on that sign up form, it's gonna take me down.
That's test.
Yeah, this is
That
all
language
test.
won't be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it is confusing, absolutely. So,
Even the titles like inline form, I just put those so that
Okay.
yeah, but
if the HTML widget failed, I'd still be able to find content that I can click on to edit it.
But that's exactly what we're thinking. We don't want people to have to go to another website and then be distrustful of it. They could just find everything and quickly sign up. So I'll see if I can add that checkbox. It's a great idea.
A comment that I have, because with the constant contact you're paying by how many people sign up for the email, correct? You might want to do a recaptcha on it, just because like from at work, we have a lot of bots that sign up our email list, so we had to add one because we're paying by people too, and if all these bots are signing up, you have a bunch of fake people on here.
We can also take any list before we put it in constant contact and run it through Zero Bounce. You get so many free checks through Zero Bounce a month before you have to get into a paid subscription. What Zero Bounce does, so Zero Bounce is a website that you put your email list into, and it will go through and it'll tell you which ones are actually valid. Like if you have the paid version, which we wouldn't, but like the paid version tells you like how frequently these people check their emails and everything else too. Like it gets a little creepy. But it will also tell you like these are bots, don't send here.
Yeah.
So you can do so many free ones on Zero Bounce each month. So we could always do that before we put them into the list too.
Okay.
Well, Constant Contact also automatically checks those, and when you're getting bounces, I think it gives you, 2 or 3 tries before.
Yeah, and then it recommends it to
deletes
remove it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me navigate to the other tab. So that's it for this page. So that was the web integration. So we're getting there. Thanks for all those small points of feedback we'll work on. And then a few more updates. A welcome issue, the idea with the welcome issue is if you sign up for the newsletter, maybe later that day or the next day, you'll get an email from the newsletter saying, welcome to the newsletter. This is what it's all about. This is the type of, it'll have a hello from Steve, the town manager. I think it'll have, so Chris and I talked about this yesterday, that it would be good if we could keep this as evergreen as possible so we don't have to constantly change it and update it. So we were thinking a welcome from Steve, a welcome from the communication committee where this project is happening, along with Steve's office, and just more information about what's going to be in the newsletter. So I just sort of put some bullets there of the stuff that would get covered. That would make it like a friendly, fun first thing for people to read. And so that is text that I will be drafting and running by everyone.
I think also a brief on why Carriage Town.
Yes, so that's part of it. Some information about the name and design.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and actually I learned from Cliff at the Stonehouse that there is still one of the buildings on the common says Carriage Town on it. So I was going to take a picture of that and show the
That's
sort of
great.
historical relevance. Like we have it there in print on a building.
That's cool.
I forget which building it is. So it was a name that was used. And then the last two things, I don't know if we want to go into this one now or later, but we did one of the public comment letters was from somebody who was suggesting that, maybe it would be better if we use the Sentinel as an outlet for all of these sorts of things that we would be trying to put in the newsletter. And I was thinking that, it was addressed to you, Kate, actually, but just because I've been just thinking the most about the newsletter and trying to explain it to myself and for the website, I thought I could take a stab at responding to him. And so,
Do you want to, should we, is everybody okay with us jumping over to a quick public comment, reading the?
One thing first, I'm going to want your slides.
absolutely,
Thank you.
yes.
I think you sent them around already.
I just
Maybe
sent
not.
it to you
Oh,
guys,
okay.
yeah.
Just him.
Do you want to read the letter?
Sure.
I can read
It's-
it. I've
it's
read
a
it
lot.
about 50 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you
It's
break up my
it's a
comment?
mouthful,
You're
so
talking. And it was
Yeah.
directed to me too, so I might as well read it. So it's dated June 14th of 2024.
What?
That's what it says, June 14th of 2024.
Okay.
And it's addressed to me at the town of Belchertown. So it says, Dear Ms. NATO, I read with interest the article concerning the Communications Committee in February 27th, 2025 edition of the Sentinel. There seems to be a lot of enthusiasm for improving town citizen communications, and God knows we need it. In the past, I have tried to use the Sentinel for communicating news and opinion, but in recent years, the opinion page seldom carries citizen opinions or town committee news anymore. Before being taken over by the Turleys, the then Belchertown Sentinel was the main source of information for the happenings in town government, and the opinion page was the most actively read page. These last years, there is relatively little town government news printed and no opinions. The article in the paper suggests that the Communications Committee is considering starting a newsletter, the purpose of which it is assumed to be an effort to improve communications between the town and its citizens, or at least those who care. I laud the idea, but wish to express some reservations. Lord knows that we need something to fill the void in communications that now exists. BCTV remains the only source of town committee news, but lacks the manpower to fill the need. Taking on the venture of starting the Carriagetown Chronicles sounds exciting at the start, but soon the hard work of covering events, compiling, reporting, setup, printing, and distribution takes the bloom off the rose, quote unquote. It is hard work, often boring, and seldom rewarding in the long run, and membership declines, yielding the death of another good idea. Might I offer some alternatives? The Sentinel, if nothing else, gets into every mailbox in town once a week. The Chronicle could not begin to match that. The amount of money required is significant and probably not forthcoming in sufficient quantity. To truly cover the town information requires volunteers, which my experience with BCTV shows how difficult that is to recruit and maintain underlined. I could go on, and usually do, but you see my point. There is a better and stronger, more lasting way which would be easier than producing your own newsletter. It would be using the available Sentinel, making it more Belchertown again. Cut a deal with the Turleys. Buy 2 pages in the Sentinel each week. We now pay plenty in publishing monies for legal notices. The remaining space can be used to report committees, agendas, and minutes. Fillers might come from the Stonehouse picture files. Committees are largely required to send these reports to the town clerk after each meeting. Have these documents submitted electronically in a specific format immediately after each meeting. With them being delivered to each home in the town weekly, you can achieve your goal with minimum amount of effort, money, and personnel, and maybe again recapture and sustain the Belchertown, in all caps, Sentinel. A weekly calendar of events might also be included. Legal notices, opinions on current events, upcoming events, town histories from the Stonehouse, library events, town meeting article summaries, church events, etc., 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 all submitted electronically to you or the Sentinel from the setup on the town's pages each week. The one big problem I see is that the Sentinel requires submission by Tuesday each week, and most committees meet Monday and Tuesday nights. Possibly a computer might be set up in Memorial Hall with a pre-programmed reporting outline facilitating the rapid reporting of minutes based on previously submitted agendas after the meeting ends. Perhaps you could take the input each week and set it up as it comes in, leaving space for the minutes, and embarrassing those committees that do not get the required documents in on time. Negotiate hard with the Turleys. This is in their self-interest too. Most people neglect the Sentinel now as it has little to do with Belchertown except sports. If they refuse, threaten to send them to the Ludlow Reminder, which tried to start up in Belchertown. Maybe they should pay us for doing their work for them. I hope this has been useful to you. Feel free to contact me anytime as below. Sincerely, W. Daniel Fitzpatrick, retired town volunteer. P.S. This might also serve as a news item summary once a week for BCTV.
Thank you, Kate. So I'm going to share my screen again to show you what I was thinking were some of the points in response to this letter that we could mention that are also useful to think through because it's part of how we explain what the newsletter is to anybody who wants to subscribe to it. So these are just some points that I jotted down, but basically I was thinking of responding to W. Daniel Fitzpatrick, thanking him for his input, which I do really appreciate, because I do think that the Sentinel is a very important vehicle of information, and putting more in it is also a good idea. But I see the newsletter, and I think Alyssa did too, as doing something very different. I think we all do. So just to highlight some of those points, I don't think we're doing any reporting or journalism in the newsletter, so it serves a different role. It's more about disseminating information. Email, I think, is a very useful way for people to receive information. I really value the physical paper, but I know that email will catch people who don't follow along in the Sentinel. Also, it's a very useful medium for connecting to resources that we want to get out there that exist on the internet, like web pages for people to be more informed about events or other things going on, or to sign up for various town things. So I think it's just useful to be in that format. Another point is that it gives us a lot of ownership and connection to run it ourselves, and also allows us, if we're coordinating all this information and putting it together, and it also, I think, just allows us to kind of think outside the box with the types of information that we share with people. So like when Alyssa and I were looking through other town newsletters, there would be, informationals from one of the groups in town that knows a lot about like the pollen that just went crazy this spring. And it's just something that maybe you would never think to put in the Sentinel, but maybe you could share it in a newsletter, just help people know what's going on in the environment. Also, a huge thing here is that even if we did the Sentinel thing, the biggest part of the work is actually just coordinating the information, making sure people send it in, making sure we're getting it out, and that would still kind of have to happen, even if the outlet were the Sentinel as opposed to an email newsletter. Because I don't think it'll just happen on its own, that everybody's just going to start sending all their stuff to the Sentinel, which I think W. Daniel Fitzpatrick doesn't think so either. He knows there needs to be labor that goes into that process. But then the last thing is just that if we're running it ourselves as opposed to sending it off to the Sentinel in hopes that it gets printed well and edited well and all that, if we are doing it ourselves, this can be very dynamic and responsive. We can be really clear with everybody who's contributing and to all of our readers about what we're doing because we're in complete control of it. So I think there's just so many advantages to making this an email newsletter project and not just using the Sentinel as an outlet for town information.
So I do have a couple comments. Everything that you propose is fabulous. And I don't know if it's worth, in your response to W. Daniel, letting him know that we are actively engaging with the Sentinel and with the Hampshire Gazette more regularly now. So that way we are able to get information to both outlets sooner. The Gazette in particular wants to make sure that they are providing more unbiased coverage of Belchertown, so not just covering people being upset about the budget and stuff like that, but the good things happening too. And Emily, they're both named Emily, ironically, but Emily over at Turley, I usually speak to at least twice a week. So we have more communication going with the Sentinel, and then they need information actually by Monday noon. So that's an even tighter deadline. And then by the time it comes out on Thursday, it may not be relevant anymore. Whereas like with a digital newsletter, you can literally be adding things in minutes before it goes out.
I think you'll have a lot broader of a reach too. Like I know my parents get the paper at their house, but I've never looked at it. But in email, like I'm on my phone all the time. So
yeah, it's capturing a different set of people.
Yeah, there's apartments and stuff in here.
Generational thing.
I do both.
I'll also add just that email newsletters are a huge part of a social media campaign for any business these days. So if we had volunteers, that's a very useful skill to be able to say you developed.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, in person, I've done work with the Sentinel too. I found them very receptive to, they've always published whatever I've sent them, I've never gotten pushback from them at all. Getting stuff printed.
And honestly, redundancy is key, right?
Yeah,
to make sure that we're reaching everybody,
Yeah.
right?
That's a good point.
Because we want to hit the Sentinel, we want to hit social media, we want to hit the newsletter, we want to get BCTV. The message should get out to every channel that we have, and we should use every channel accordingly. And that's the way that our town is really going to start communicating with the most people, right? If we pick just Facebook, we're only going to be hitting the same people again and again and again. If we go just to Sentinel, we're just going to hit the same people. We got to hit every channel we can. And that means creating new channels.
I mean, purchasing 2 pages, then you have to fill it. You have to fill it.
Yeah.
You have to fill it. And that's
the point.
That's impossible.
And for what our small subscription to Constant Contact costs right now, I would imagine we would spend well more than that
Yes.
buying
I think
the
so.
2
Yes.
pages.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is very cost effective that we're doing it, and the platform is cheap.
And it's under our control.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's under our control.
And also, one big difference also is we're not gonna run ads, or at least I'd be like, that's not something we would do. So that just makes the nature of it different. This would just be information that's useful for people. Nobody's being sold anything.
And that's an excellent point too, is that we're in control, because there have been a couple times when we've sent stuff to the Sentinel, assumed it was going to get printed for the next week, and it's not there. So we now get to control when things are going to be released.
You also could use once you compile the email list too of people, you can use it for the emergency communications and stuff too, having those emails. So.
I mean, you're on a good path.
Yeah.
You're on a good path.
Yeah,
I think we all agree, yeah.
Appreciate you taking the time to write that letter for sure.
yeah, and I'll run it by you guys
110%,
before I send
thank
it.
you.
But yeah, those were great ideas, and I mean, I think it's good to have that. It's great to have that enthusiasm and interest.
Could you
in the
just make sure you
project.
put a note in there to let him know that because the newsletter, his letter was about the newsletter, it was forwarded to the communications committee, and you in particular, as a person running that project, that way he's not like, why didn't Kate get back to me?
Yes, good idea.
Who's this Allegro person?
Great idea.
Again, why didn't keep it?
All right, so thank you for that. And then the last thing is more fun, which is, I mean, that was fun too, but which is just looking at some design stuff. So just trying to pick a header design. So this slide is just to show you what a header is in case you're not familiar with where it would go. The first 2 images are of an email that you'd open up on your desktop computer in a browser. And so the header's the thing at the top, right, that says the Carriagetown Chronicle and has a picture of a carriage. The one on the right is a view from a mobile. These are not set designs, these are just drafts. But just to give you a sense of where the header is, right? So that's what a header design is. And then I have been working on a few designs. Kate came up with a few header designs. I think my approach is different from yours, Kate, so I wanted to just point it out in case people prefer Kate's. But I was looking at stuff like the stuff on the left, so I borrowed.
I love that bottom left one.
Okay, I think that was,
Yeah, I love it.
so
Oh,
that's.
you found it.
Yeah, so I have a few of these. So the bottom left, in the background, we can change the transparency level, but that's one of those beautiful images of the town common with the blue sky above.
Because I'm saying this, the bottom left would be Carriage Chronicle with the full carriage on it. Is that the one we're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Thank you. Okay,
And the background is a photo.
I see. It's
Right.
Whereas this one is
subtle in there.
Right, so those 2 on the left are very similar. The buggies are different technically, but what I was calling attention to is the background is different. So one's a solid color and one's an image of the town. The ones on the right, I felt were a little too busy or picture book looking to me. So but those are a couple other options that Kate was playing around with. The top right one is actually a little hard to see because it's so faded in the background, but it's got kind of
It's hard to see with the fluorescent lights anyways, but that bottom left one I really love. No, you're not gonna help the fluorescent lights from where I'm sitting, no matter how big you make that. Oh,
Yeah.
So it's kind of, there's like a scenery, there's a whole scenery in the background of that one, and it's, but it's drawn, right? So let me show you then the next page, just to give you a sense of some of the options for the, a simpler design. And, so yeah, there's the choice of background, and I'm hearing that people like the view of the common behind it, which is that second one on the right there. And then there's also a choice of buggy, and so I have like a couple books of all these old carriages. And I had originally been playing around with this express carriage because I thought it was funny to have an express carriage. But it's actually not the best carriage to use for the newsletter, because I think it was used in cities much more than it would be used in a place like Belchertown. And so Chris had a great idea, which is to try to find a carriage that more approximates the carriage on the town seal. And we know that those carriages were driven around town. And so these are more like cruising vehicles. And so 3 very popular ones all across the US in the 19th century were the Phaeton in the bottom left. Yeah, sorry, I should have blown these up, but they're very similar. So that's one, the Phaeton. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's from the Greek god or whatever. The coal box buggy and the piano box buggy. And you'll notice the images are poor quality because I haven't played with them yet, but I would make them look nice. So some of the lines have faded, but I would fix that. So I'm curious what everybody thinks of these designs and what buggy they like if they want to go with a design like this.
I like the Phaeton buggy.
I like the Phaeton with one exception. It looks confusing because of the 4 wheels. And if it's more in profile, like scroll to the right, Chris, there, like that. See how you only see 2 wheels? Because it's, directly in profile.
Mm-hmm.
I find it cleaner to look at.
I might be able to.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like the Phaeton, yeah.
Okay.
I really like the express buggy. It's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I had sort of, I put Belchertown and Express on it. You can't really see it because it's so faded, but yeah, I do think it is less historically accurate to use that
But
one.
it's in your face. I like that.
It is, yeah. So I don't know if those would have been used. I think
That
they
piano
would
box
have-
one confuses me.
Well, the thing too.
Well, the thing is down.
Yeah.
Stonehouse has a carriage house
Yes,
with carriages in it.
yes.
Maybe you would say what kind, just if you want to keep it really historically accurate, what kind do they have that were in use?
Yeah, I haven't been in there yet.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, I personally, I like that one.
Yeah, I like the Phaeton as well. I get what you're saying about the wheels. I don't think it's terribly distracting, but I do understand that, it does look sharper when it's just the.
There was this gorgeous display
Simpler,
Oh, nice.
cleaner.
that Mark put on his report. It's just, I love the line. It's
Yeah.
art. That's art.
And it could be a sleigh too, because we
Yeah.
manufacture a lot of sleighs in Belchertown. But yeah, so Carriage Town, maybe it should stick with the carriage.
Save that for a winter edition.
Yeah, I
Right?
think that's a great idea. Actually, we can have
Yeah.
a little Christmas edition or holiday edition. Okay, so I'll send these slides out to everyone, and then if anyone has any other design feedback, please just send it to me and set it by the next time we meet.
No, excellent job.
Thank you.
Excellent job.
Okay, I will stop sharing now. That is it. Thank you. That was it.
All right, very cool. Any questions?
I'm happy to help with the newsletter.
That'd be great. And then,
Cool.
yeah.
All you then. Communication plan.
We're almost done.
I don't think so.
I tried to reiterate everything that you shared at the last meeting. In particular, we talked about communications principles. And I have them written in the first person, we will do this, we will do that, and so forth. But that didn't feel quite right. Then I asked Chris, does this apply to the entire town or simply our committee? And your response was, no, it applies to the entire town. So I've changed the
So can I just-
language.
Can we just put a pinpoint in there? It
Sure.
applies to the entire town aside from the schools. Because what the town decides to do does not necessarily carry over to the schools. I know, just like how the schools have their own communication or social media policy.
I feel like we could still say the town, and then it's understood that the schools are separate.
We could, but maybe just like
Is it a political thing?
somewhere's in there,
Yes.
just so there's no arguing about it in the end. Just like, just state it once and then just continue going forward as the town.
Well, I can tell you what I did. So
Yeah.
it addresses, I think, your concern.
Awesome.
I changed the language a little bit in the paragraph, and it says now, we recommend the following principles to guide us in this key responsibility. So it's simply a recommendation. It's also aspirational, and I use that word too. And then what I did for each of the principles, instead of saying, we will do this or we will do that, I actually started with the verb in the paragraph. So it says, for example, encourage community participation, utilize multiple communication channels, explain complex concepts, and so forth. But again, these are just recommendations. So that's the way I address the issue.
Excellent.
And in terms of the plan itself, there's some formatting issues which I've got to address, and it will take virtually no time. I think that we had also discussed the issue of, and this very much involves Kate, and so the issue of how do we get current information, current projects and plans in this communication plan as we go forward. And Ed, I think, talked about, we should ask all of the departments for their ideas, what's working, what's not, and so forth. And we certainly could do that. But in addition, I mean, Kate, you're really right in the middle of this. And I wonder how we can keep this plan current, given that you really are the magnet for all of these issues that we're trying to address.
What I see as the best way to keep the plan current is to put a clause in there saying that it has to be reviewed and updated every so months, at whatever that time frame is. Something that I'm finding is that with us not having a solid intranet in town, between the town departments and everything, it's harder to share information and for people to access the same document at the same time and stuff like that. So people have like their local copies and stuff like that. So I think like if there's something in there that says that it's going to get reviewed and updated periodically, what that schedule is. And then also too, there's no gray area or room to misinterpret how relevant the document should be.
Certainly do that. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be my 2 cents on that.
All right.
What do you mean by relevant documents? You said.
So like for instance, like there's a list of everybody's phone number, right? Extensions. There's no, like that doesn't live like on a server where everybody can go and access it at any time and get it. Like everybody has their own copy. Like we don't have a good, strong intranet in town to share documents.
Okay,
So it's hard to communicate on that sense because.
I understand that. Thank you.
As we're reaching the end here with this, do we have a plan to get this to, or I guess we should formalize a plan to get this out to different groups, town clerks, select board, just have them review it before anything's stamped and approved.
And to Steve and.
Just yeah. Right, basically anybody who would like a copy of it and wants to see it. I think there needs to just be like an open, are you interested in the communications plan and seeing what's there before it's approved.
Give them 30 days or something to review and provide feedback.
Right, learn our lesson from the social media where a bunch of people came afterwards. So, do we think we're at a really good point to do that at this point? I mean, I'd love to start getting feedback from other departments, committees, things like that.
Absolutely. I think if we just can add in about the timelines and how it should be updated, I think we are good to go, honestly.
Okay.
I was happy with.
Is it something the two of you can just work out?
A quick phone call and
Easy.
we got it.
Excellent.
And then would you be the one to distribute it to the departments?
Yeah, I would send it to Steve first, and let him know that the committee plans on opening this up for a 30-day review period.
Okay.
And we can probably, sorry. Just trying to make my kids snack. We can probably put a copy of it on our website and then have a form on there that people can provide feedback with for the comment period, right? Because then all their comments would be archived with the website and then everything's backed up for public record.
Makes it easy.
Yep.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
If you need help with the website stuff, I don't think you do, but just let me know.
Only when I break it.
Only when you break it. Anything else, Mark?
No, it's the
Any questions? Excellent. Town social media.
We are up and running. We are doing lots of things. So one of the things that I changed this week, posting about the different meetings we have in town, is based on feedback that I had received from various individuals in town, is that when we have the meetings, sometimes they get canceled at the last minute or the location changes. So now all of the morning messages about the meetings for the day now all have a disclaimer on them that says, to see the agendas for these and all meetings, please visit our website. Meeting locations are subject to change and meetings may be canceled as necessary. Please check the town website for the most up-to-date information. List all the websites, and then all of the images that go with them also have that same text on there as a CYA, so that way nobody can say, I saw this image at 7:03 a.m. and now at 7 p.m. and the meeting location has changed and nobody told me why is that.
Great.
So then the more exciting piece with social media is that Emily and I sat down with Rec. And I'll let Emily take it from there. It's been awesome.
We started the Instagram account.
Yep.
And the Instagram account, I've been posting once a day.
That's the
So
town
far.
Instagram account.
That's the town Instagram account, yeah.
What's the handle?
Town_of_Belchertown. We have 54 followers so far. As of today.
That's really good.
It's pretty good, seeing how we just made it a
Mhm.
couple weeks ago. But we did meet with Rec, we met with Linda twice, Kyle once. I've been creating the posts for her, and then they did make me an admin of the account just because it's a little easier on their end. So I've been scheduling posts to go for them too.
So admin on the rec department
Yes.
Facebook page.
You
Yeah,
know,
and Linda just kind of like, she sends over, we worked out like how for Linda to best send them to Emily so she can keep track of her workflow. So one event per email, Linda will send over looking to have, a post created. And it can be anything like, hey, we're signing up this program, we don't have enough people, oh, we need to find some umpires. And then we're also gonna be putting together like some evergreen content about, hey, don't forget you can go swim laps at the pool, or we actually have a town beach, you should go there kind of thing. So.
Very cool.
You
That's
now have 55 followers.
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Charge.
Any questions on social media? Lost Esther. Committee charge. We kind of already went over it. There's no updates on it until we meet with the select board. I believe we got pushed to the 7th as well, so we'll just do everything then. I kind of pushed back and was like, listen, it's a really quick change. We can't just like shove this in the beginning of the meeting and get it done with, right? And they were like, yeah, you're getting pushed back. And I was like, okay, fine. So that's that. So moving on, belchertown.org. I don't think there's a whole lot to change here. We tried some of the stuff of the newsletter. So there are updates there. I can't remember. We were gonna hold off on something for a little while because I can't remember. There hasn't been any movement on the review.
Right, no, wait.
Right.
And actually, probably move that to the next meeting too, because we want to talk to Kate. She wasn't there at the last meeting about the best way to roll that out. Let's put that on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
Worth noting with the website too is that the town's clerk's office is now hitting the button to send notifications to people when meetings and agendas are added to the website. So that's a huge step forward in regards to that.
Yep.
The next step on that is going to be to have her do the agendas first. So it's a little change in her pattern. Normally she does the meeting and then the agenda. So to have her do the agenda first, get that URL, not send a notification about that, pop the URL into the meeting format. When you set up the meeting and all the boxes, you can pop your agenda URL in there, and then she can send one notification which will link both. And that'll also mean that when people come to the website, they'll be able to access the meeting agenda from the same screen and not have to go out to a separate agenda screen. So we are, yeah, we're getting there. So we got our sending out the notices. That's awesome. Kevin took care of that. So we're moving forward.
It's working really well. I mean, I'm on that list, so I'm getting them all, but it's working really well.
So this is like through the notify me
Yep.
stuff? Okay. Do you know how many people, do we have a count on how many people use that?
We do.
Hold on, let me change my
It'll take a short moment for her to get to that, so.
Yeah, go ahead, keep
Unless
going.
there's anything else with belchertown.org, we'll move on to branding Belchertown Committee updates. We have met with locality. Katie, the designer there, owner of the company, she's going to start working away on creating a digital version, a digital replica of the town seal. I met with Terry in the town clerk's office. She showed me what the town seal sort of was. She has this big cast iron press with a seal plate in it that you put a piece of paper in, stamp it down, and that is the official town seal, is that stamped symbol. So we need to take that and turn it into a digital version that is as close to the exact same thing as possible. So it's basically taking like pressed paper and turning that into an image, which is no simple feat. So and it's because all of the other seals that are out there are all essentially fakes that they've all been created for one cause or another. Typically it's, something that needed to be done externally, where we had to go to a designer for printing or something like that to make a banner or some other reason. And they made a close approximate, or through the years we had, this right here, this things like this were created, where it was like recreations of like, so they're not technically the official seal, but they're close enough that people started just reusing them and adapting them to whatever needs that they had. We do the same thing in our meeting notes. So those are all incorrect. We need to find one we need to create one that is as close to the stamped one as possible. If we do that, we've been advised from Terry not to bring it to a town warrant, because it's a close enough approximation. It doesn't change anything, and we can just adopt it as the digital version of the town seal. There might be some back and forth with that. I think Steve very much does want to go to a town warrant with it. And I think the committee has mentioned it a few times that we are going to, so it's sort of like we've made this promise, now we have to kind of do it. But I don't think it's really going to change. I think it's going to be, people are going to be like, great, it's just the same thing but digital. So I don't expect it to not get approved if we go that route with it. The other big thing is that we spoke with this at our last meeting. On the 26th of March, which is coming up, we are going to have a meeting in the auditorium that is going to be basically an open house. And that's going to be between Semtech, which is doing the wayfinding design work, and locality is coming out to Belchertown from, Missouri? Yes. And the branding committee is going to be there. We're going to hold a meeting of sorts. We have to have an agenda and everything for it, but it's basically going to be sort of like the town meeting one where it's just like call to order and mingle, answer questions, right?
So I don't know if Esther's planning on doing that, but I'm definitely planning on doing it, taping it for BCTV.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
What time would that- Do you have a time?
I don't
It's
have a
from
time.
5:30 to 7.
There you go.
And some more to fill in the information about that. So it's from 5:30 to 7. The information for the press release on it has already been sent to, not the official press release because they're still working on the wording on that still. But I did send a blurb about it to the Sentinel, as well as the QR code so people can start filling out the survey if you want to get to the survey being done next.
Yep. So we've finalized questions to put into the town survey, basically asking questions about, it's really a vibe check on what you would like to have represent Belchertown as a new logo. Again, it's the logo that's being created. The seal is staying the same. Just a lot of questions on like, how do you feel about Belchertown? What are some images? What are some locations? What are some other stuff that really make you, that make you think of Belchertown? Why did you move to Belchertown? Or why do you like this place? Why are you here? All the, like I said, vibe check stuff that we're going to then hopefully turn into, the designer's going to take that and turn it into a logo at some point. Or they're going to use that as the basis for information to use. So we're hoping to get a big turnout. Definitely for the survey, we're going to send that out in a lot of different ways, but we're also hoping to get a lot of the community to show up at the event and to talk with us, fill out the survey there, answer a lot of our questions there, and we'll answer a lot of questions about the project and about the committee and whatnot to whoever has questions.
Is it too soon or Monday, at Monday's meeting, have a flyer or a card of some sort to hand out or available in the auditorium? It's gonna be a big turnout.
I think we should make that happen, Ed.
That's not a bad idea.
I think we should make that happen. We have like 0 time to actually work this week coming up. And Steve sent me a bunch of stuff he wants me to get done by Monday. And told me they'll find the money somewhere. So I'll add that in as stuff we have to make sure we get done.
I mean, I'll be glad to, if you want.
It's on the branding committee to put that together. That's something that you and I can coordinate with, get Danielle and Nate to look at it.
By Monday?
Maybe get it working. Do it through the day. I can put together something over the weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't we?
I mean, this would be pretty.
I have hours set aside to work tomorrow
we're meeting at
anyways,
this time.
so let me bust something out tomorrow while I'm working.
Okay.
I've got time that I'm planning on working tomorrow morning, and I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily know if Danielle checks her email during the weekend, and we want to have time to be able to print them before the meeting, right?
Yep.
Just put one on every chair or something like that at the meeting.
Yeah, so I'll do that while I'm working tomorrow morning and send it to you.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I won't be at that event. I'm going to be at a work thing that was the one time I couldn't make it, and they scheduled it then anyway. So I guess they didn't want me there. It's fine. But yeah, I think it'd be a good thing. I'm hoping for a big turnout, and to get some of the people who have concerns to come out and voice them, and we'd love to hear them.
So are you anticipating it being more presentation than breakout workshops?
I think it's gonna be more workshops. It sounds like Maud and Danielle are doing a lot of the discussion of what's going to happen at it and setting it up and working with the wayfinding designers. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of tables set up, and people could just walk up and see what's presented there and talk to somebody.
Question than anything else.
Yeah, so it's designed to be an open house.
Yeah.
So people can come in anytime between 6 and, it ends at 7:30, so don't show up at 7:30, but you can come in anytime in that hour and a half and take a look around and talk to people and express your concerns or thoughts you might have or something like that. So there may certainly be times when there's more people there, so that taping then would, make it look like a bigger event, but yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. That's everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else. Wayfinding Advisory Group updates. Have we heard anything about that?
I haven't heard a word.
Haven't heard a word.
I assume you put forward my name to the committee or to the working group rather. And
Let me sent that out. Yeah. So let
Okay,
me hit Mod and see what's going on.
She was very sick this past week and she's on vacation next week.
Okay.
That would explain that.
So move on from that. Emergency communication team.
Continue to flush out the document. It's kind of a SOP or guidelines on it. It's a Google Doc, that both you guys are on. Probably as a result of your emergency management class, I'm sure you have a lot, you can
Yeah, I've
add
got to
to
get
it
back
from
in
there
and add to
and
it.
things like that. But just continue to build that out, and once it reaches a point that is presentable, we will, and see who wants to play. Okay.
Excellent. Any questions, concerns, anything? Cool. It's getting late. We're moving along. Public comments. So we do have one other public comment. We could have read this during the social media update, but whatever.
This is actually related to the website, not social media.
That's true. This is the blog.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. So this is an anonymous resident, presumably resident from town, sent this into the new suggestion box. It's not 2 full pages. That's just all the extra stuff that we get with the suggestion box. But the suggestion here, I'll read it to you guys. It's 2 paragraphs. Please ask the new communication manager, Kate, to stop talking down to residents by suggesting again and again that they don't have the skills to interpret town financial information. Day after day, she writes blog posts that seem designed to discourage, dissuade, and deter Belchertown citizens from analyzing town finance documents. February 13th, I know the budget process can feel complicated. March 12th, municipal finance can be complex. March 10th, financial reports can sometimes be complicated. I've got no problem with trying to better explain things to the public. I'm sure, like Mr. Bosher, or I'd sure like Mr. Bosher to explain why I had no idea the school line item budget was publicly available online. Parentheses, how did he set the funding level without reviewing that info? But constantly suggesting that the public is confused by complicated numbers is condescending, and it obscures the fact that there are some real, all caps, and substantive problems with town finance reports. That's it. So that has been reviewed by Kate already, as well as Steve. And I had a copy of this as well.
And we sent a copy to Joanne and HR because it's a personnel issue.
Right. As a complaint about demeaning language. I think the response from Steve was basically that he's gotten requests to sort of explain these types of things, and that many people have noted that or commented that municipal finance is complicated and confusing. So I don't see anything wrong with how these blog posts were written. Yeah. I haven't necessarily heard anything positive about them other than, and the one negative about them, but that's just me. But I've read them and I think that they're great. So I think this is just one person coming out and saying that they're not happy.
Probably a professional accountant.
Can't say they didn't, it's all anonymous.
I know. It's speculation on my part.
And I can certainly take into account when I go to write the next article to not use the word complex, because if I've used it 3 times in a row, then we can pick another word from our source and use a different word.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with you that it is complex. They are.
I find it complex.
And also that thing about the line item, well, the school department just released its line item the other day. So that shows you they hadn't been releasing their line item. They had to create it and distribute it.
And I also believe in one of the 3 posts that the commenter mentioned, it states that when we develop the budgets, each department has to ask put in how much money they want. And that is done differently for the schools than for other departments, just the way that the town is set up. And I believe it's addressed in that article, and they just break it down based on the DESI numbers when they send it to the town versus an actual line item budget as to how much each department's spending. Like, that money isn't necessary and is not required when they have to turn in their budgets.
I was at the chapter 70 minutes of chapter 70. Complex. It is just amazing the number of pieces that go into making up the school budget and how the formulas are made and utilized. Anyway, that's enough of that.
Yeah. So I think just we'll take the good with the bad. We'll be a little more weary of the language that we're using, or that you should do that going forward.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think that what we've done so far has been fine. But I think that we should any participation from the town and these are the first few letters to us, public comments we've ever seen. So I think it's a good thing. People are starting to notice.
Anyone's supposed to be doing.
Exactly. We're getting the good with the bad, everything else.
We're getting engagement.
Yes. So all good stuff. Please.
That's one of Mark's words.
Yeah. Gotta close up the communication plan. It's done. But yeah, we should encourage everybody to send in comments or complaints or whatever else.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's why it's there.
Yeah.
But it's also for suggestions too. So if anybody wants to use the suggestion box and tell us, they want a coffee shop, or they think that somebody needs to look at that, Allen Road intersection or something like that, and instead of ranting about it on Facebook, they could certainly do that too.
Yeah. Love a coffee shop.
We could also refer them to the appropriate handbooks on Massachusetts municipal finance, each of which is maybe 30, 40 pages.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on. Just about done, everybody. Let's get this done before 9. Any other additional items for discussion? We've already done the topics not reasonably anticipated, unless anybody has anything else they want to throw at us.
Just to throw out the number that Allegra requested previously, we've had 22 people sign up.
Throughout the meeting?
No, in total, 22 people have signed up for the news alerts from the website, several of which are in this room right now. But the most recent signups were done this month. We've had a number of signups this month, so that's a good thing.
All right, any member announcements or informal topics that we want to just throw out? Anybody have anything? Great. Next meeting time. So we're doing Fridays now here. Did not have to fight anybody for this space on a Friday night. I believe the idea is the 28th. Same time, same place.
Perfect.
Yep.
7 p.m.
Start bringing the coffee.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I usually have. All right, and without further ado, I propose we close the meeting.
We move to adjourn.
All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone.
Another